News First at 9.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News at 9, live from the News First Centre in Colombo. I'm Nadim Majid.
And I'm Nicola D'Zoiza. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Headlines on News First at 9.
Met Department warns that wind speeds in coastal areas may increase in the next 24 hours. Tremors reported from Passara. Election campaigning to end at midnight. A challenge to the government from the JVP. Tony Abbott sworn in as the 28th Prime Minister of Australia.
News First at 9.
Tremors were felt in the Passara and Bibila areas this afternoon, measuring a magnitude between 2 to 3 on the Richter scale.
Meanwhile, the Department of Meteorology in its forecast for the next 24 hours warns of adverse weather, citing that wind speeds in coastal areas could reach up to 70 kilometers per hour. The
department says the deep and shallow seas from Mena to Portuville via Gaul and Mathura could be rough.
The Department of Fisheries warns fishermen to refrain from setting out to sea in small vessels due to inclement weather. It added that all the other fishing vessels have also been warned of the inclement weather conditions. Rough seas prevented fishermen from several areas in the country from setting out to sea today. With the prevalent incessant showers in the island, 2 spill gates of the Canyon Reservoir have been opened by 3 feet each. 3 spill gates of the Lakshapana Reservoir too have been opened since this morning. Furthermore, the water levels of the Vimala Surendra Reservoir have risen. Over in Pilimatalawa, earth slips have begun occurring near the Lukwata Muslim Vidyalaya. Our correspondent in the area said that thereby students from nearby classrooms have been evacuated. It was reported that tremors were felt at around 3:10 this afternoon near Passara. The Geological Survey and Mines Bureau said that the tremors were recorded between units 2 and 3 on the Richter scale. The tremors were felt in Bibila as well. The Department of Meteorology says that rains can be expected in several parts of the country during the latter part of the southwestern monsoon season. Rains can be experienced from time to time in the central, Sabaragamu and western provinces and the Gaul and Mathura districts. However, the wind speeds can reach up to 70 kilometers per hour. This condition may lead to thunder showers occurring during evening hours.
Meanwhile, News First U reporter Chandana Kapuarati from Badulla filed this report on the threat of landslides on the Passara-Namanukula road.
There is a risk of landslides occurring on the Passara-Namanukula road. Motorists and locals should remain vigilant as a cypress tree located in close proximity to the 12th mile post area may fall onto the road due to strong winds.
News First U reporter
Before we head in for a short commercial break, let's take a look at some of the Met Department's forecasted temperatures in the main cities and towns in the island for tomorrow.
A final rally to garner support for the UPFA's candidates for the Central Provincial Council election was held in Kandy today under the patronage of President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
අභීත නායකත්වයට අපේ අභීත නායකත්වයට රටේ 170 නායකත්වයට අධිකරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අධිකරු
මේ රටේ ත්‍රස්තවාදය තුරන් කරපු ජනතා විමුක්ති පෙරමුණේ සීනුවේ සද්ද කැල්ල දාලා
We brought economic development to the villages. We built roads and we built roads in the villages. I will not say that we have built all the roads, but what are those people saying now? They ask what these roads are for.
කන්දද පාරවල් ඇදුවා කියලා. හයිවේ මොකටද?
When we announced that a highway would be built to Kandy, they have already started inciting people saying it is unnecessary. Do you not want it?
මේක ඕන නැහැ. නුවරට. ඕන නැද්ද?
You want it. This is the people's opinion. They are shouting without identifying the people's will.
මතය. මේ ජනතා මතය අඳුරගන්නේ නැතුව කෑ ගන්න.
Controversy has arisen surrounding a statement made by Minister Salinda Disanayake that he provided security for former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga.
That's right, Nicola. Now speaking to News First after witnessing the report, the minister's remarks on our primetime news bulletin last night, the former president rejected the claim made by him.
Mama Lebanon guerrilla.
I took a guerrilla course in Lebanon with the plot organization. I can use any firearm. Until President Chandrika Bandaranaike took her seat, I provided security. Today there is no one in this parliament who has done what I have done.
Mama. අද මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කිසි කෙනෙක් නැහැ. ඉතිහාසයේ මම කරපු කාර්යභාරය කරපු.
I have just watched this MTV News at 9 and I noticed that a certain minister of the government, Mr. Salinda Disanayake, has made reference to me saying that he had received training from Uma Maheshwaran and his group in order to bring me back from London where I was hiding out with my two children because the JVP was threatening to kill me, having killed my husband. And they were all trying to persuade me to come back. So apparently he has said that in order to get me to come back and come into politics and to protect me, that they received training from Uma Maheshwaran, that's what I understood, and that they were given some guns and that he was in charge of my security thereafter. I do not know about any training he has received from Uma Maheshwaran or anybody. He was not in charge of my security.
However, Minister Salinda Disanayake contacted News First today and provided us with several photographs.
This is News First, Election Headquarters.
All propaganda activity for Saturday's Northern, Central and Northwestern Provincial Council polls will conclude at midnight today.
That's right, Nadim. And the Election Secretariat says that all party offices except the district party office should be closed by midnight tomorrow.
According to the complaints unit at the Election Secretariat, the number of complaints relating to the provincial council polls has increased to 458. 54 of these complaints are concerning acts of violence. The highest number of complaints have been reported from the Kurunegala district, with the number standing at staggering 119. 75 complaints have been received from Kandy, while another 18 have been reported from Kilinochchi. Complaints have also been made on the misuse of state resources for election activities. 94 of these complaints concern the use of public officials for the election propaganda activities. The complaints unit at the Election Secretariat adds that it has received 60 complaints on the use of state vehicles and 38 complaints relating to the distribution of goods.
Well, as candidates scramble at the final moment to canvass last-minute votes, let's take a look at some of the views that are being expressed on the campaign stage.
The fair question that I have to ask is this: why is it that the government that eradicated the dangerous tigers are unable to eradicate narcotics? Why can't it find the drug smugglers? Is it as difficult as stopping the tigers to stop drug smuggling? It is not being stopped because politicians are involved in it. I do not speak about the JVP. There is a reason for this. When you have a pet dog, what does it do when it is outside? When we are asleep inside the house, they bark until dawn. They bark at the moon. They bark at ghosts, and they even bark for no reason. They even bark at the rustling leaves on trees. The boy who uses narcotics is in prison while the drug smugglers are outside. This isn't fair, is it? This has been happening for 65 years. We are asking you if this is a fair social system. Will we leave such a social system for our children? This has to change. The fact that the United People's Freedom Alliance will come to power in these 3 provincial councils is as certain as the sun rising tomorrow. I can responsibly say this to you. When the government thought has been turned on its head, today masses of people have begun to join hands around the Janata Vimukti Peramuna in opposition against the government. We can clearly see that on the 21st, the people will use this as an election to show their opposition to the government. Once you queue up at the polling centres on the morning of election day, there will be so many crosses placed next to the symbol of the beetle leaf that there will be no room for any of the other symbols. The government will certainly see a reduction of votes in the northwestern province. The number of seats it has in the central province will reduce greatly. The government has already said that it will be defeated in the north. If you look at the history of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna in 1989, they shot and killed the first 10 people who voted. That is their history, and in spite of that history, His Excellency the President has brought this country to a place where even the Janata Vimukti Peramuna can live in freedom. There is a situation where when you are in one party for a long time, the people in your party do not take notice of you, and those in the opposition do not take note of you. When you cross over here and there a little bit, it helps your marketing too. But since I am a person who calls right for the right and wrong for the wrong, I too have been subject to political undermining. It is possible that some public representatives and ministers in the United People's Freedom Alliance are disillusioned. Today, it is not the public representatives of the alliance that are ruling the country. The ministers and MPs who crossed over from the United National Party have secured the proper ministerial portfolios.
The Commonwealth Observer Mission currently in the island for the 2013 Northern Provincial Council polls says that it calls on all stakeholders to play their part to ensure that the remaining days of the electoral process promotes confidence in voters to freely exercise their franchise, thereby making a forward step in the post-conflict development of the Northern Province.
Now, this statement was made by the former Vice President of Kenya, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, who is heading the Commonwealth Observer Mission, which also consists of members from Australia, Bangladesh and the Caribbean.
The statement of the head of the Commonwealth Observer Mission reads that the mission will observe whether conditions exist for free and competitive elections, whether the Elections Commission is independent and effective. The mission constituted by the Commonwealth Secretary General will also observe the transparency of the process, whether candidates have been free to campaign, what roles the media has played, whether voters have been free to express their will, and whether the results process is transparent. It adds that the mission will be neutral, impartial, objective and independent in conducting its duties and undertaking assessments. The statement goes on to say that the assessment by the mission will be its own and not that of any government, and adds that it intends to offer constructive support to help strengthen the democratic process in the future. In conclusion, Stephen Kalonzo says that the mission will issue an interim statement after the election and a final report thereafter.
Let's take a quick look at the newspaper cartoon of the day.